Hello, dear brothers. As I promised to Dimitri some days ago, I prepared a surprise for you. Today is the name's day of our brother Ambrose, and the commemoration day of Saint Ambrose of Optina, one of Optina elders. So, but first I would like to send my greetings on his name's day to our beloved brother Ambrose. I wish him to learn Russian as faster as he can and to immerse in the depth of Orthodox theology, so he will have enough power to immerse other people in the font of Orthodox Christian baptism. So for this day I prepared a little lecture on the epistle to Colossians sent by Holy Apostle Paul. Why this letter? Because today is the last day when the epistle to Philippians is read according to church calendar, and tomorrow we have a commemoration of Apostle Philip, one of the 7 deacons, and we start reading epistle to Colossians on liturgies according to movable calendar, because yesterday was 20th week, Sunday, 20th week after Pentecost, and I hope, if I have time and God will bless, to meet with you during these 14 days and discuss passage from passage to passage of epistle to Colossians with exegesis of Saint Bishop Theophanes the Recluser, who was the bishop in Russia in the late 19th century. Some of his works are translated, but some of them are not. I couldn't find translation of his exegetical works. He wrote his commentaries on almost all epistles written by Apostle Paul, and he started his commentary to Hebrews, but he didn't finish. He is called a recluse because he lived in a closed room and meeting no people, serving liturgy, dedicating his time to prayer, writing letters, of which we have several volumes, and reading and writing his comments, his works. They're quite profitable for use. He also used foreign non-Orthodox interpreters of the Holy Scripture, and he had a critical approach to their writings. Mostly he liked English, and of course the basis of his writings is without doubt Holy tradition, all writings of the Eastern Orthodox Church. This is his fundamental for his exegesis. And that is why I have chosen this this commentator, this Saint Bishop Theophanus. Today we are going to make a small introduction to his letter. I'm not going to translate it, but just I read this his introduction to his letter, which consists of 5 parts. He gives some information about Christians in Colossae and motive, contents, and the goal of the epistle, time and place, and parts of the epistle are discussed in this introduction. The Colossus is a city in the region of Phrygia in Asia Minor, which is situated near other cities named Laodicea and Hierapolis. He actually mentions these 2 cities in chapter 2, verse 1. For I want you to know what a great conflict I have for you in Laodicea, and for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. And he asks also to read his letter that he sends to Christians in these cities. The place where he writes this letter is in Rome, in 61st or 62nd year, at the beginning of his coming to Rome. And what is interesting here, it's just common information. I just try to choose something that is interesting for you and me, and not having time to translate everything. Maybe sometime God will bless and we have time for translating this word by word. But now, the goal of the scripture is, because he heard from his disciples about faith of the Colossians, he actually praises them for their faith, and he gives them recommendation, because probably at that time they encountered some preachers of Jewish origin, who combined also Jewish ancient Old Testament law with Hellenistic paganism, and maybe Christians started to converse with this false teaching. That is why he asks in Colossians 2, chapter 2, verse 20, why do you, as people who left the world, continue to literally have discussions with these false teachers. In English it is translated as, therefore, if you died with Christ from the basic principles of the world, why, as though living in the world, do you subject yourself to regulations? Literally it means dogmatizeste. You either you undergo their preaching of his dogmas, or you discuss dogmas with them. And all his epistle is dedicated to one more time speaking about the Son Christ as the only way to God, because probably the false teachers suggested them some another way besides Christ to achieve God. Here we can there is a hint in Colossians 2 verses 18-19. I will write it. I will read it for you. Let no one cheat you of your reward, taking delight in false humility and worship of angels, intruding into those things which he hasn't seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding fast to the head, from whom all the body, nourished and knit together by joints and ligaments, grows with the increase that is from God. So, maybe there were some spiritists who suggested Colossian Christians to intrude in some secrets and mysteries, worship of angels, of course not kind angels. And the center of his epistle is actually that Christ is the end of the ancient Old Testament law. You are buried with him in baptism, in which you also were raised with him through faith in work of God, who raised him from the dead. It's chapter 2. So Apostle Paul sends his epistle to Colossians with Tychicus and Onisim, who brought with him another letter to Philemon. Philemon was one of the first converts of Apostle Paul. When he traveled around, perhaps in Ephesus, they met together, and he converted Philemon and Epaphras, and they went and preached the gospel in Laodicea and Hierapolis. And maybe Epaphras asked Apostle Paul to help him with these false teachers. And in the letter, Epaphras is called our dear fellow servant, who is a faithful minister of Christ on your behalf. Another servant was Archippus, son of Philemon. There is an address to Archippus in chapter 4, verse 17. And say to Archippus, take heed to the ministry which you have received in the Lord, that you may fulfill it. So maybe Archippus was a kind of bishop or a presbyter. He controlled the community. And Epaphras supervised these 3 cities. We do not know exactly whether Apostle Paul was in Colossians or not. And I will omit some discussion of this probability. So we already discussed a little bit the motive for writing angels. We will continue learning passage by passage next 2 weeks, I hope. And so Apostle Paul wants them to stand fast and keep to the head, and this is what you already heard. So and the epistle has forward and afterward, dogmatic part and moral part. So once again, my congratulations to Ambrosius Names Day, and I hope see you tomorrow. And meanwhile, you can watch videos, 7 videos on catechism. I hope you already watched some, and studying on the first year, you didn't go up to 9th creed, which is covered partially in the 7th lecture. May God be with you with your teaching, and may God I pray that He may bless you.